Greetings. I'm going to start off by talking about hero worship. You know, when I was a kid, my favorite musician or act was the Jackson 5. I loved the Jackson 5. And then when they became the Jacksons because Jermaine decided to leave, still my favorite group. And then when Michael Jackson decided that he was going to go solo, my favorite performer, I stuck with Michael Jackson the entire time, all the way through to 2009 when he passed away. And he was my favorite artist. I mean, the day records came out, I would find out the day albums came out and I would buy them. I hadn't heard a thing, but I would buy them all. I went back and bought older albums once I learned that there were older albums out there, because back then we didn't have internet. I was living in northern Maine for a while, and then when I moved to New York, I didn't know where radio stations were and I wasn't listening. So I missed a few albums somewhere in the middle there, but I got all the albums. And I just loved his music. I loved his videos. But you know what? As enamored as I was with the musician Michael Jackson, I never hero worshipped him. That was not my thing. The only true hero worship I ever had, and it was just a moment, was seeing Jesse Jackson here in Syracuse back in 1988. And that was pretty much only for one night. When I went to a rally, this is when he was running for president, and I went to a rally after I'd had a really bad day. And he just said some stuff, and I said, yes, there's the guy. And in that moment, I said, you know what? If he says, let's go out and kill a bunch of people, I'm going to go for it. Now, luckily, he did what Jesse Jackson always did. He messed it up by killing all the energy in the room and changing to something else. And on the drive home, I was sitting there thinking, wow, how easy was that for me to succumb to that kind of feeling? That had never happened. And I was, what was I? I think I wasn't yet 29, but I was getting pretty close to it. And it was like, wow, where did that come from? And I made sure that was never going to ever happen again. So I had certain musicians that I enjoyed. I had certain athletes who I enjoyed. You know, when Obama won the presidency, the election back in 2008, I was like, okay, this is a great day. But I never saw him as someone who I hero worshipped. That's just not my style. That really shouldn't be almost anybody's style. But it has become that. As a matter of fact, for some people, it's gone beyond hero worship. It's gone into religious worship. And it's not even a religious topic. So, over the last week, we have had Marjorie Taylor Greene indicate that Republicans need to basically worship the orange guy. I'm still never saying the name. And then we had Lauren Boebert, who basically said that they should throw out this idea about separation of church and state. It should all just be church. And the Messiah they should be following is the orange guy. How did it get to this? Someone really explain this to me. I understand, you know, when Truman, way back when, and then later on when I used to, you know, read a whole lot of history books and whatever, he said that there was this concept about the big lie. And the big lie can draw a lot of people into it because, you know, people will feel disenfranchised and feel like the whole world is picking on them. And bam, they're just waiting to be drawn into something. And then they meet like-minded people and you're just all over the place. But this is getting ridiculous. And I just can't believe that. And then he's been going around the country doing rallies supposedly for people who are running for office, but he's been trashing some of those people indirectly. This guy in Ohio, J.D. Vance, he went there specifically for him, so he said. He basically trashed him. He ignored him. And then he started talking about QAnon stuff. And people were eating this up. And I'm like, remember y'all were the ones who thought that if you went down to Dallas where President Kennedy was assassinated, that around 4 o'clock, his son was going to be reincarnated and he was going to lead your revolution? How'd that work out for you? I just really, I don't get all this. I don't get how people are still supporting this guy in some of the numbers that they have. For instance, today, real reason I'm kind of doing this, because I got inspired to do this. We had the New York State Attorney General, Letitia James, my state. Finally, somebody has filed charges or is filing charges, has sent it to the judge who's going to go with it, of fraud. The guy, massive fraud. New York State is suing him for $250 million. It's laid out in 250 pages. And they had his former lawyer basically giving him all the information. They had the guy who was running his, the finances of his company who testified. They talked to a whole lot of banks and whatever. They got all this information. And the first thing they came out with today is, well, she's being a racist and this is all politically motivated. That's all you have. You can't say anything about she's lying. None of it is true. What you did try to say is that, well, other people have done the same thing. How has that ever worked out for anybody? If I walked up to someone and I slapped them in the back of the head and a cop came up to me and say, hey, you can't go around slapping people in the back of the head. And I said, what? Other people have slapped other people in the back of the head. Am I going to have the cop say, you're right. You get to go home. It doesn't work that way. But there he is. And the thing is, if he tries to use that as an example at court, because they're going to court, you're going to lose. Because one, he's not going to be able to name anybody else who's done it. And two, his lawyers aren't really going to want him to speak because he had the opportunity to speak when he had the deposition here in New York City. Okay, I'm not in New York City. I'm in New York State. But still, here in New York. And he took the fifth almost 450 times. I think the only thing that he didn't take the fifth on was when they asked him his name. Now, here's the other thing. We have the fraud investigation. I wrote these down just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I still have a feeling I missed one big one that I can't remember. But we got the fraud investigation. We have the January 6th committee that's pretty close to deciding, okay, we're sending all this stuff to the Department of Justice to see what they're going to do based on the January 6th insurrection, his attempt to overthrow the government. So we have that. We have trying to overturn the election results in Georgia because they're totally investigating it. They got witnesses coming in, including Giuliani and Sidney Graham. Someone explain that guy to me. How is he still winning elections? But they've got a whole bunch of that. But there's also 5 other states who are running investigations on the same thing. Because Sidney Powell, the Kraken, I love saying that, Kraken. But, she led people into going to some of these voting stations and sneaking people in. They tried to sneak people in, but people are so stupid. Almost everybody has cameras now. So they've got people on camera going in and taking apart the Dominion, hardware and looking at all the software and doing all these things about it. You can't do that. But in Georgia, they got the orange guy recorded trying to get the guy who's responsible for elections in Georgia to overturn the election. So, can't you just find me 11,000 and whatever the number was? But it was so exact. He didn't say, could you find me like 12 to 15,000? He didn't say that, which would have been bad enough. He had a specific number that if the guy could have found that, if he had decided to do that, that would have just been enough. And he had other representatives do it for all these other states. And then, of course, we have Mar-a-Lago. And we have the thing that he didn't give back stuff that was supposed to be given back. And then they find out that he has taken classified documents. Some of those that are so classified that even if anyone believed that he declassified it, he can't declassify it. And then he took a loss on that today when the special master that his lawyers picked for him said, nah, you guys are trying to get something through here without saying anything. I don't know if there's anything I can do. And the Department of Justice, in the meantime, went to the 11th Appellate Court, U.S. Appellate Court. Appellate, I don't know, how do you say that word? I don't know. But went there, and the court earlier this evening stated, yes, the Department of Justice can go ahead and look at those 100 classified documents because this is about national security. And you notice the orange guy has gone around saying how he has declassified all these documents, but none of the lawyers have. Why not? Because the lawyers know if they say it, they're going to lose their licenses. You know, I mean, someone explain this to me. How have some people gone so far over the edge in their beliefs? How have they gone so far over the edge that they're ready to believe every single thing this guy has said to them? They're ready to lose their jobs. They're ready to get themselves killed. They're attacking the FBI because he said something. They're attacking people who work for the Department of Justice because he said something. People are driving across the country, leaving their own states to go somewhere, and then giving up their lives because of the big lies. And he has not given any sympathy to any of them except the one woman who was killed during the January 6th insurrection, who said she didn't deserve to be killed. She was trying to break in. A whole bunch of them were all together. There was one Capitol police officer who was by himself, and he took a shot, and she got it. And she shouldn't have been there in the first place. If you can explain that to me, you know what? There's no explanation. There is nothing anyone can tell me who supports this guy why it's deserved. There's a lot of people who are going to probably say, if I get a lot of comments, that, well, we can tell you why. Actually, I can tell you why. Like I said, the big lie. People just will gravitate to something like that. They will find that worship, and there's just no changing it. I don't know. That's my thought. Someone tell me this isn't really happening. Just tell me it's not really happening. You know, give me the Bobby, what was his name? See, I never saw Dallas, but I think his name, they called him Bobby Joe on the show, where they went an entire year, and then the woman, you know, hears something, and she gets out of bed, and she goes in there, and he's alive after he'd been shot and killed. Someone explain that to me too, because I don't, like I said, I never saw the show, but I remembered hearing about it. It's just craziness. Anyway, that's what I got. My name is Mitch Mitchell. Please let me know. We've got to get beyond the crazy. We at least have to get to a place where politics is just politics. And the fact that I'm wishing politics was just politics shows you how much I'm looking to at least get the needle moving back towards some kind of sensibility. Y'all take care.